Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to Fernvalley Farm's YouTube channel. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Vince, and welcome. All right, we're down in the wood shop today. We are working on our roofs for our beehives. This is that time of year. It's almost February. It's cold out. Good day to be down here in the wood shop working on these roofs, getting these things done. I'm getting stuff done step by step. You can see the mess I got going here, but it's actually all organized. So. We're working on the roofs. I want to show you how I do one of them. I've got kind of everything all set up, and I'm going to explain how I do this. This is one that I just kind of already put together. I wanted to do one really quick. This is what it looks like when it's kind of halfway put together. And when I build these, and hopefully you watched the video on building the deeps, I will put the video. I will put the link to this video at the end of this video, so you can go watch this. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. Support the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Thumbs up are always appreciated, like I said. So anyways, here's the deep. When I build these roofs, I build these just obviously a little bit bigger so they slide right over. So they slide right over. A little bit of play so they can kind of move around. But what I do on the inside of these is I just take, this is why you keep all your old scrap lumber. What I'll do is I'll take a piece of scrap, 1x4, or I'll take a brand new piece that I cut to length, and I'll cut it in 4 pieces, and you come out with these strips, and these will glue on the inside like this. So obviously when this sits down on the box, it won't fall all the way down. And it'll just sit really nice on the box. And you've got a little bit of play. Like I said, it moves around just a little bit. I don't want to make it really, really snug because wood does swell. Middle of summer, it's hot and humid. I don't want it on so tight that I can't get it off. And then you're trying to pop it off, and you're moving your hive, and you're moving your box, and you're pissing your bees off. So I make it so there's a little bit of play in this thing. But let me show you how I build these. Get this out of the way. What I do is I take 1x8 and I cut them to whatever dimension these things are. These are 18 3/4 wide. Like I said, they're a little bit wider than your deep box. So they're 18 3/4, and obviously they've got a point to them. I like to build all these. I like to build these. I think they look nice. They're solid. They're sturdy. I put the shingles on them. I bought shingles in the past, plus I have a lot of extra shingles laying around from roofing jobs, so the shingles come in handy because it'll make your roof last a whole lot longer. And one little trick that I do use when I build these, and here again, scrap lumber works out good. You can see this is kind of an old piece. It's a little discolored, but it's solid. It's not warped. It's not wet. Because once you put these on, put the shingles on, it doesn't matter. But I use plywood. Don't use I don't use OSB. If you use OSB, which if you're not familiar with what OSB is, this is OSB. They used to call it particle board. Now it's OSB. This is like pressed. Oh, it's like pressed. I don't know how they actually build it, but it's like pieces of like particles of wood all glued together, and it comes in different thicknesses. Obviously, problem with the OSB is if it gets moisture in it, this stuff could peel, it could swell, it can kind of warp on you. So as far as the roofs go, or any of the my inner covers or my screen bottom boards, I use regular plywood instead of the OSB. This stuff works great for other stuff, but for this I use the plywood, just for the simple fact that it's not, I mean, anything can warp, but moisture is not, because this is obviously solid, it's not particles like the other stuff. Moisture is not going to get in it, it's not going to separate or come apart, or it's not going to warp. If it gets wet enough, obviously it could, but when it's on the roof of the hive and it's covered with shingles, it ain't going nowhere. So what I do, and I'm going to show you really quick how I put these things together. I'm not going to bore you with watching me just sit here and work. I have this template that I made for building my boxes. Now this is just a little bit higher, obviously, than these roofs are. So what I'll do is I'll get a couple of these. You see this? I like to get these nails started, and I'll show you why. So I like to get these nails started because, you know, this is obviously tall. This is made, this stand here was made for deeps or supers. So I'll just take a couple of pieces of something else and just raise this up. Okay, so what I'll do, usually I'll put the nicer part of the wood to the outside because obviously you're going to paint this. You want to paint your stuff; it'll preserve it longer. You don't have to, but you're going to wind up building boxes more often than you want if you don't paint it. You want to preserve it. Use yourself a good exterior paint, and I glue it. And I use this type of glue. This is what I get. You know, I always forget to turn this light on. There, now you can see a whole lot better. I like to use this what is it? We got Title Bond glue. This is a waterproof glue. It's made for outside. It's waterproof. It's weatherproof. This stuff really works really well. So what I'm going to do, I always forget to turn that light on. Put a little bead of glue right there. I'll get this set up here. And here's why it comes in handy to get the nails started. If you put the glue on and you ain't got your nails started when you're trying to get these nails started, this stuff is sliding all over the place. So there, you get it on there, get it all nice and set. I make sure it's flush, corner to corner. I'll start it. I'll come back. So now it's flush here, and it's flush here on the bottom. Drive it home. I will flip this around and get the other piece here. Here again, I'm going to pick the nicer edge for the outside. The inside doesn't matter because it's not getting wet. But the outside, where you're going to paint it, you want the nicer edge to the outside. So here again, I'll get this on there. I'll let it sit for a second. It kind of grabs. I'll make sure it's flush there. I will make sure it's flush right there. Start it. Make sure you're in the middle too. You don't want to split. You don't want to split your wood. You don't want to have this nail too far to the outside. When you nail it into the piece of 1x4, you don't want it split. Any excess glue that squeeze it out, I always like to kind of rub it smooth. Like I said, when this stuff dries, it dries really hard. Well, there. Now you're good there. There you go. Now, I can get this out of the way. Put that there. So now you got one side. Okay. Now we'll come up here and I'll get my other piece. Here again, I'll start it. This makes it easier when you start them. I use these, what do they call this, a 6D? What's this nail called? This is a 6D type nail. You can see it here. It has a little head on it. These work really well. The 4Ds I use for the frames are a little bit smaller. So now, we'll put a bead of glue here. Do you have to make your roofs this fancy? No. You can make yourself just a regular cover that slides right over the top, and that works just as good. I just like doing this because I like looking at my hives. I like looking at them all nice and lined up. All the roofs are uniform. I just like it. I think it looks nicer. So I'm going to put this here and there. I'm going to make sure that that's square. So it's flush, I should say. Right here. Get it started. I'll come over here. On the back side, you can see this here. I'll get it started here. I won't drive it all the way until I know it's on straight for sure. There. Here. There it is. And if you want to check it up against the box, take one of your boxes, slides right over. Now you get a little bit of play. So now what I'll do, get this out of the way. And I always like to just kind of smooth the glue out in the corners. I said, when this stuff dries, it dries really, really hard. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I am going to put these strips, here again, these strips are cut. Let's see what I got here. These were cut for here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these out. Let me just cut these really fast. Now, these will get nailed on the inside. Now these will go just like that. So what I'll do is I will nail that on the inside like that. Once that's nailed on, that's going to stop that obviously from sliding down over the box. So what I'll do, now let me just double check. There's one of these other ones. Okay, so what I'll do is I usually put these about, an inch. And I'm going to go an inch and a half. Now I'll go, what am I going to do? Yeah. I'm going to go an inch and a quarter. I'm going to put these an inch and a quarter in. I'll just draw a line so I can kind of see where it's at. So what I'm doing is I'm setting this an inch and a quarter in, so it gives it plenty of hangover over the top of the hive. So what I'll do is I'll take a bead of glue. I glue everything. Just keeps it together better. Here again, I'm going to put the flattest. I'm going to put the nicest part of the wood facing down. That's going to sit on top of the box, obviously, because you want this in flush. But I'm going to show you a trick that I do. Put this right there. And now I'm going to take, I'll use the 4D nail. You see how these are a little bit smaller? You see this here? A little bit smaller nail. As I use these on the frames. When I start putting frames together, I'll show you how I use these. But all you want to do, all I'm doing, is getting this in here just to hold it in. Because once the glue dries, it ain't going anywhere. So I'm going to start it. Put that there. Inch and a quarter. Where'd it go? There. Now I'll flip it over. Sometimes when you're cutting your pieces of wood, I'll cut them a little bit bigger sometimes, and if you got to trim it off, that's fine. I'd rather be a little bit too long than too short, obviously. So let me just trim this piece. I'll just shave that. There. Let me see if it fits in there real nice. Here again, I'll measure. If I want my glasses, this would help. Where's my glasses? Are they even over here? Yeah, there they are. inch and a quarter, inch and a quarter. Just draw a line, take that off, a little bead of glue. Yeah, this Title Bond glue works really, really nice. It's really strong. I'll put that in just like that. Because I said, all this is it's holding it on top of the box, so obviously the roof doesn't go all the way down. Now I will see this on camera yet. Yeah, these 4D nails work really well. They're not too thick, they're not going to split the wood. If you're ever nailing into thin wood like that, one little trick you can do is you could pre-drill it. You could take a really small drill bit and pre-drill the holes, and then this won't split. One thing I don't like about doing that is if you pre-drill it, obviously it's not going into this part of the wood really tight. So if I don't have to pre-drill, I'm not going to, because obviously now it's going right into that wood, nice and solid. And it just makes it a lot stronger. Drive it home, one in the middle. There, now you've got, you see there, one here, one here. So now what we're going to do, I got the other pieces here cut. And these are going to fit right. You can see I already measured this one, so, and that's going to sit just like that. So just to give yourself a guide, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark this. That. Glue. And when you use this wood glue, when you put the glue in, if you put the wood on it, let it sit for a minute, it kind of like grabs it a little bit, then it doesn't slide around as much. Now here you want to make sure it's flush, here and here obviously. If you don't want this crooked because it's not going to sit flat on your box. And then there's one other little trick that I do when I'm all done with this to prevent, because especially when you get during robbing season, bees still can somehow figure out a way to get up underneath this. If there's a little bit of a gap from here on the top of the box, they squeeze their way in there. So I'm going to show you what I do to prevent that. Let me just get this started here. Now this, you got to make sure you're right on the money, so you got a nice flat edge. Started there. Make sure we're flat there. Another little piece of advice, if you see you can't see there's like, you see a little knot right there? Well, that knot's obviously on the inside too. Don't try and nail into that knot. You're either going to split that knot and break it open, or the nail is just going to bend depending on what kind of wood you're using. But this pine is pretty soft, but you don't want to nail into that knot, because you could split that knot open, or your nail's going to go in and go crooked. So just try and avoid that. So there, now we're flush all the way. I'll get my third nail started here. And what's nice about these little number 4D nails, when you nail this way, they're not going to come out the top. If you use the 6s, they're going to pop through, and you're going to have them coming out the top. And you don't want to take and bend your nails over, that just doesn't look good. So now, I'll flip this back over. Get this piece in here. Here again, I'm only drawing the line so I can see where the glue is going to go. And you don't have to use tons of this glue. This stuff is pretty good. It's good glue. When it dries, it's hard. It's solid. And one thing I forgot to mention in the video building the deep boxes, if you build put one of those deeps together, if you watch that video, which hopefully you did, if not, go watch it. When we're done with this video, obviously, go watch it. If you put a box together, anything you build, if you put a box together with this glue, And let's say you put this box together and it's crooked. If you take, which I'm not going to do, this stuff will pop loose. If you hold this box here and take this hammer and just hit it really hard right here and right here, it'll pop that glue loose. And you can take it here and hit it here, hit it here. It'll just pop it right loose. You can pull the boards off and you can straighten it back out. Same thing with this stuff. If you had to pull this apart, if you just hit this hard once it's dry, you want to take it apart. If you had to, you hit it hard once, it'll come right apart. But this stuff is pretty solid. When it dries, I really like this glue. And it's waterproof, or weatherproof and waterproof. So there, that's on. Now, I probably could have started these nails, but that's okay. Let me just do this here. Just get it started right here. So I'm going to put that right there. Here again, I don't drive them all the way in until I know I'm right on the money. Then I drive it all the way in. It never fails. I'll drive a nail all the way in, and it's crooked. Or it's got to be taken apart. That's when I start them. Make sure I'm good all the way across, which I am. And now, there, and right here. And there you have it. So now, let's see what it does. Take your box. There's your deep. Take your roof. Beautiful, huh? Right on there. See that? Like I said, there's still a little bit of play still, but that's fine. But now it ain't going nowhere. And it's covering up any gaps that you might have. But them little guys, they find a way to get in sometimes. I don't know how they do it. So what I like to do is if you get one of your boxes that's just a little bit off on the inside, them bees will they'll squeeze underneath there. Because I use the hive top feeders, and they figure out a way to get in there, and I'll find drowned bees inside the top feeders. Okay, this is my scrap that I use when I build my insulated. What am I trying to say? When I build my insulation boards for the outside of the hives for winter, go back and watch that video too. There's a video on that also. This is the scrap that I use because I build insulation boards that I put around the outside of the hive for winter time. Well, this is the scrap. What I do is I cut a piece of this about 1 inch wide, like this, and I will glue that here. I'll glue this on the inside. This is why you shouldn't throw any of your scrap away. Keep all your scrap. If it's a decent sized piece of wood, hang on to it because you don't know if you're going to need it for something. That's why, like when I build these boxes, and you'll see in that video, I got scrap left over. That's what the scrap comes out. It winds up making the entrances for the screen bottom boards. It comes in handy for making handles. The scrap left over from the insulation when I build my outside insulation boards. I'm not going to throw this away, obviously. So what I do is I cut a piece of this, and I'll cut it maybe 1 inch wide, and I'll glue 4 pieces on here. What that does is it makes a seal on top of that box. So now the bees, no robbers can sneak their way in there. Because, where are they at? I use hive top feeders, and those hive top feeders sit inside a frame that sits on top of the deep box. Well, like I said, if there's a gap somewhere, like I said, especially during robbing season, they're trying any way they can to get into your hive, and they'll squeeze their way through and get inside that because they can smell that sugar syrup. But if you put a piece of this on there, it makes like a seal. I tried using rubber stripping, which I did. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it off on some of the ones outside right now. I used the weather stripping, in which it worked, but it's rubber. And the problem was it's sticking to the boxes. So, like right now, this time of year, if it's warm enough and I could pop the hive open and look. The problem is I go to try and pick the lid off and it's stuck to the box. I got to take a hive tool and pry it loose, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm going to pull all that off, and I'm going to do the ones that I haven't done in this yet with this, because this ain't going to stick. But this is just going to make a nice seal all the way around this. So I'm going to cut a piece of this all the way around, glue it on, and that ain't going anywhere. So you kind of got the idea how that works. So, okay, the next step of this project, and this is the important part. Obviously, the roof has got to go. I'm not going to do the shingles. That's just going to take too long. This will make this video last forever. You're going to nail. You're going to get this. I got these things cut at a peak angle. You can see that right there. And this is going to get nailed on just like that. And I am going to glue it. But I don't want a gap right here. Because here again, if you leave a gap right here, because sometimes, and this is where the really important step is coming in, you got to have ventilation. Okay, well obviously if you leave a gap like this, let's say you leave a gap like that, if you can see that in the video. See that little bit of a gap right there? Them bees will try, they'll work their way right in there and they'll get right down into your syrup. Or they'll get right into your hive and they'll get all the way down into your frames. And like I said, robbing is a really bad problem in the fall, late summer, early fall. So I don't give them any gaps if I can help it. So that's going to get nailed on just like that. It's going to get glued. It's going to get nailed. And then it ain't going nowhere. Okay, well you're saying, where's your ventilation? Well, I'm going to show you. Or if you're wondering about ventilation, I'm going to show you. So once that's on, I'm not going to do this now. You got the idea here. I'm going to glue it. I'm going to nail that on. And then after this is nailed on, well, let me do one step before that. You need vent holes. You need ventilation. The biggest one big killer of bees, the cold necessarily isn't going to kill them, but moisture will. You've got to have a way for that moisture to escape the hive. If it's nice and warm in there, you get a cold day, you get condensation building up, the condensation freezes, you have a warm day, it drips on your bees, kills your bees. You have to have a way for that for that warm, moist air to escape. So what I do, and you can see it right there, is that hole. Those are my ventilation holes. And what I use, and I believe, and you can make these any size you want. This is, what is this, 1 1/4, I think. Well, anyways, right here on the front, can you see this in the video right here? Get yourself a hole saw. And one little trick to these hole saws, so you don't split your wood all apart or the piece doesn't get jammed in there. Get it started. As it's starting to come through the other side, which you can see right there, the hole's starting to come through. Then you come through on this side and finish it off this way. There, then the hole, then it just pops right out. This is actually getting pretty dull. I've drilled a lot of holes with this saw. It's getting dull. There's your vent hole. And if you've seen in my other videos, what I do outside in the wintertime, if you want to hear inside your hives, I have everybody's got, what a shop vac is. I have a little elbow for the shop vac piece. Or you could use PVC. You could buy yourself a piece of PVC pipe and cut it, the hole, to whatever size it fits in. I use that little shop vac elbow. It fits right into that hole. When this is on the hive, you listen inside that, and you can hear your bees in there. So that works out kind of handy too. But the biggest thing for this is ventilation. You want to have a hole on either side. I've got it marked. Yeah, this blade's getting really dull. It's almost time for a new one. Wow, it's really getting dull. It's starting to come through here. Scrap away. There is your ventilation holes to let all your moisture escape your hive. If you don't have ventilation holes and all that moisture sits in there and it freezes, because you're going to get condensation in your hive. That freezes, you get a warm day, that thaws, it's going to drip all down on your frames. You might as well say bye to your bees, it's just going to kill them. What I do now on this is See here, number 8 hardware cloth. This is what I use on my screen bottom boards. This number 8 hardware cloth comes in really handy. Here again, keep your scrap. So you can see this is a nice straight piece. I'm going to cut a piece, obviously on the inside. That's going to cover that hole just like that. And I'm going to staple that on. Now, bees can't obviously get in from the outside, but this will get stapled in here. That's going to go just like that. I'll staple a piece here, and I'll staple a piece here. I'm being called. I can hear my child. Let me show you here how I do this. I'll just cut it to just so it overlaps the hole. Nothing fancy. I'll cut 2 of these, about that big. They cut really nice with a pair of scissors. Put it there. Staple gun. I'll take the hammer, tape the staple down. There. Now no bees can get in from the outside. Okay, so now on this side I'm going to staple just like that on the other side. Let's get this stapled in. Like that, like that. Now bees cannot get in from the outside. There's your prevent for that. So, this is really here again important as far as condensation. You don't want condensation in your hive. I can't stress that enough. That will kill your bees. So this is what I do. Okay, this is all set. Here again, we're going to glue, nail this down, and I'm going to put shingles over it. And if anybody's ever done any roofing before, putting the shingles on is really easy. So, nail it, or glue it, nail it, get it on, put the shingles on. Or you don't even got to use shingles. You can use some kind of a plastic material. Anything that's going to preserve the wood is what you want to use. So now, yeah. So if you put some kind of a plastic down or some kind of even sheet metal, you can put that on there. It's going to reflect sun, but I like to use the shingles because I have them and they work out really nice and it looks kind of nice. Glue this down. Put your shingles on, and then on the inside of this, here's one good way to prevent condensation and help keep your hive cool in the summer. See that? Insulation. Now what I do, and I thought I had some, but I don't. But this is all it is. This is this pink. And you know, depending on where you live, what kind of insulation they sell in your home improvement stores, they sell. This is just 1/2 inch. Is all this is. What I do is I cut these 1/2 inch strips. See, there's no gap down the middle. I cut these 1/2 inch strips, or it's 1/2 inch insulation. I cut a piece here. I cut a piece here, and I glue it in. And this is foam board glue. If you go here again, I go to Menards. You go Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, they all sell it. But get yourself insulation glue. Well, I'm sorry, it's glue that's made for like foam, but it'll stick to wood. If you just read the label, this glue here is made to stick to wood. So when you get your piece cut, run a few beads this way, and then glue it in, it ain't going nowhere. So now what's going to happen is you've got insulation on the inside. It's going to help keep it cool in the summer, and you're going to prevent moisture. You're going to prevent condensation in the wintertime. If you ever gone into a pole barn, like a pole building or a metal building, you go in the spring and all the water is dripping, or if you go in there in the wintertime, if you look up, you can see it's all frosted. That's condensation that's built up. If your roof is insulated, it won't do that. If you insulate your roof like in a pole barn, And if you've watched my video, I'm not sure if the video is out yet on the roofing. When I built my honey barn, I put insulation on the roof inside that to prevent the condensation from dripping. That video might not be out yet by the time this one comes out, but I'll get to it. I insulated that roof so there's no condensation that's going to build up on the inside, because the styrofoam is going to prevent the condensation, and then it won't drip inside your hive. So here again, cut this to size, glue it in. You can use 3/4. I just use 1/2 inch, and this is all you need. Cut it to size, glue it in, let it dry. It ain't going nowhere. And you know how you can tell? And one way you can tell if you've got mold in your hive, because what's going to happen if you get condensation in your hive and it can't escape, it's going to mold. And then that condensation also, like I said, will freeze and drip on your bees. One way to tell if you have mold or not, if you take your lids off and it's black, or you see black, that's mold. That means you got way too much condensation in there. The warm moisture is not escaping. It's sitting in here, and it's molding. See this? You don't see you don't see anything black. This looks like it's brand new. You can go out to my hives right now, pop the lids off, look at the inside of these hives, or the inside of these roofs. No black whatsoever. Dry as can be. That's because any warm air that's rising, it's coming up, it's going out these vent holes. Huge, huge, really important. You don't want condensation in your hive. This keeps it cool in the summer. This prevents condensation. There's no mold whatsoever, which is telling me all that air is escaping, and that's exactly what you want. So that's pretty much it for this. This is the biggest, this is the most important thing right here. You gotta let that air escape. You know, you've got an upper entrance too. You know, oh, I got my inner covers over here. I build my own inner covers too, and I'll do a video on these. I gotta build more. It's got an upper entrance. So when this is sitting on the deep, you know, air could get out here too. It'll escape. I like to have the extra holes here, and you can see when I build these inner covers, and I'll do a video on this. You can see the 3 holes for so the bees can get through it, obviously too, if they want to get to the feeder, to get to the hive top feeder. Also, that lets the air escape also. Doing it this way, this works great for me. So this is just a good tip. Hopefully, you guys give this a try and see how you like it. Like I said, you can go out to my hives and look right now, and it looks like it's brand new. So there's no moisture whatsoever in these hives, and you can tell it looks brand new when you pop these lids off. So that's about it. And obviously I put a number. I got all these hives numbered so I know which one is which, because I keep a record book of all my hives. So, and they're all lined up really nice and uniform. They all got nice shingle roof. They got numbers on them. Like I said, you put your screen in there, no bees can get in there. And that's about it. I got a couple more of these to build. I've got a bunch of them built. I need a few more. Getting ready for spring here. Okay, so let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys do. If you build your own boxes, if you buy them, which works out just fine. Store-bought works out just well, but if you got the equipment, you got the time, you got the space to build your own, you can save yourself a whole bunch of money. It works out really well. There's all kinds of different ways you could do this. This is the way I do it. Like I said, I like the way it all looks. It all looks nice and uniform. When I'm outside looking at my hives, everything's all lined up nice and neat. Eventually, I probably won't be building, like when I have a bunch of smaller, different type hives, whether they're resource hives or some nukes or whatever, I probably won't build them like this. But for all my main hives and all my honey production hives, I'm going to build them like this because I just like the way it looks. So anyways, like I said, any questions, comments, please leave them. Like I said, let me know in the comments below what you guys do. Hopefully you liked the video. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss any of these videos that are coming up. If you want to, kind of follow along, hear what I'm doing, and see what's going on, subscribe. When you do subscribe, hit the little bell next to the subscribe button. You'll get notified the next time a video comes out. Plenty more to come, actually. Spring is getting closer. It's almost February. Woohoo! Yeah, so we're almost there. Bee season's coming. So anyways, hopefully you like the video. Thumbs up are always appreciated, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Alright, thanks, bye.